An off-roader is only as good as its driver. Is that the case with the new Land Rover Defender? Before I'll explain, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss new episodes.
Land Rover Defender is a car legend. Well, actually it's a continuation of the legend started by the Land Rover Series. The Land Rover Series 1 went into production soon after World War II. Designers took inspiration from the Jeep, but they focused on the needs of the farmers, a tractor which you can drive to town. The Land Rover Series turned out to be a great tool wherever the British went exploring. Some say the Land Rover Series was the first car more than half of the population of developing countries ever saw. The shift from Land Rover Series 3 to Defender in the early 1980s helped the British marque stay afloat while Japanese off-roaders dominated the market. The Defender was more comfortable, it had more powerful engines. Land Rover adapted to market needs.
Just like with the new Defender. Off-road junkies can complain this is no longer a true off-roader. But they rarely bought new Defenders in the first place, so it's unlikely they would buy this one now. This is an off-road lifestyle car.
The new Defender takes design cues from the original. The concept was first shown back in 2011, and since then the design matured. I think this is one of the few examples when the production car looks better than the concept. Also, the model designation is taken from the original Defender. There is the long wheelbase 110 and the short wheelbase 90 model. That's just a name though, because this Defender has 119-inch wheelbase instead of 110 inches. The biggest difference is replacing the ladder frame chassis with a monocoque. Land Rover claims the new Defender chassis is sufficiently stiff and getting rid of the frame allowed for better approach, breakover and departure angles, especially with the pneumatic suspension, which is standard on the 110 model. Also, the permanent all-wheel drive has changed because now the differentials are locked electronically. I use the plural because this test car has the standard central diff lock as well as the optional rear diff lock.
I think this is a good time to tell you about my off-road adventures in the new Defender.
An off-roader is as good as its driver. Sometimes that means avoiding certain situations. The Land Rover Defender comes with Terrain Response 2 system, which is very clever and allows even a novice to drive over scary-looking off-road obstacles without lifting a finger. The car also has 5 dedicated off-road modes and 1 configurable mode as well. But if you have to use them, it means you may already be a bridge too far.
Okay, so off-roading lesson number 1, don't go near water. I got stuck before I managed to do anything. So now we'll have to figure out what to do next.
Back in the day, you engaged four-wheel drive high and low range manually, and then you could have locked a diff, also manually. It was all complicated and required some knowledge as well as some off-road skills. The terrain response system is so clever, in most cases it does everything on its own. A day before I got stuck by the lake, I drove up a sandy hill through the forest with some roots sticking out from the ground. I recall the Jeep Wrangler needed some motivation there, but the Defender climbed like it was driving on flat tarmac. This is impressive, but at the same time it lures you into a sense of false security.
2 things you should always take off-road: a rope and a shovel. A winch would be a good idea as well. Anyway, we don't have any of these things, so I've got a stone and I got to dig because we kind of lost traction.
What happened there by the lake was the sense of false security getting the better of me. I stopped close to the water, I recorded the beauty shots I needed, and then I started turning around to leave. I didn't engage any off-road mode because I assumed the computer will do it for me. And if I was going straight, it probably would. But I started doing a 3-point turn and the computer didn't get enough data to select the right settings, and so I ended up with the back wheels in the mud.
Okay, so since we don't have a winch, we brought out the lift jack. We're gonna jack the car up so the rear wheels don't get stuck more, and so they have some traction to give us a push, because front wheels obviously don't do shit.
Let me repeat, an off-roader is as good as its driver. In a Wrangler or a G-Wagon, I would have everything locked and in low range before getting close to the beach. And here I just assumed the computer will sort it out for me. I should have also checked the terrain on foot. I would then realize the water level dropped during the summer, and while most of the beach was sand and stones, the last meter or so of the shore was actually sand and mud.
So we are past the jack-up stage, and now we're looking for someone to give us a tow. However, in order to do this, we have to place the tow hook somewhere, and apparently it's underneath this thing here, and I have to unscrew 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever bolts. Brilliant idea.
I also wasn't prepared as far as equipment is concerned. I didn't have a winch, it's a press car. I didn't have a rope, so once I found a farmer with a tractor willing to help, very nice bloke, and I'm very grateful for the help, we had to wait for his son to fetch a rope. I should also have recovery trucks, maybe a better jack, etc., etc.
Okay, so once we remove the front cover, there is a proper hook which apparently can hold up to 18 tons or something, which I don't think we will need today. But generally speaking, not a good idea. Once you take it off, get a proper winch, right?
From a technical point of view, the car was on all-terrain tires, but I think something a bit more aggressive would be nice. Also, regardless of the fact I started playing with the off-road modes way too late, the Defender could really use mechanical rather than electronic diff locks. In my situation, maybe I could have got out if I had a front diff lock. Instead, the tractor once again proved to be the best off-roader. But the Land Rover Defender is not just an off-roader, but also a family car to take on a road trip and to the shops. You can get the Defender with equipment packs aimed at the adventure type, country type, or the urban type. This test car is an S model, which is the second lowest spec without any styling packs, but with the optional diff lock. Major items on the options list include paint, white roof, clear side rearview mirror, panoramic roof, winter pack, off-road pack, 3-zone climate control, and heated seats. Everything else is standard.
I'll start with the clear side rearview mirror. I couldn't justify it in the Range Rover Evoque, but the Defender is so high, so wide, and there was a spare tire on the tailgate that half the time I can't see compact cars behind me. This is when the virtual rearview mirror comes in handy, or the 360 camera, which is more used around the city than off-road in my opinion.
The Defender is slightly larger than the BMW X5, that's big by European standards. When the car launched at the 2019 Frankfurt Motor Show, one of the options that got many people scratching their heads was a snorkel-like contraption which was actually an air intake raised high and turned away from the road dust. Some journalists wondered if it will impact visibility. No, it won't, because the A-pillars are so thick you can hide a hippopotamus behind them.
To describe the Defender in the city, I'll translate a Polish joke. Where does a 200-pound sparrow sit? Wherever it wants. People see from afar this is a big and expensive SUV, and they make way. The suspension is comfortable, but steering is very off-roady. The steering ratio is so high that when you get into a Defender from a normal car, you have to be deliberate to go around a roundabout rather than across it.
The turning circle is 12.8 meters, better than the G-Wagon, but the Jeep Wrangler can turn tighter. 12-13 meters turning circle is what most mid-size SUVs achieve. As far as city driving is concerned, the 240 horsepower 2-liter diesel gives the Defender a decent push. Outside the city, you start feeling the car weighs over 2,300 kilograms.
On the motorway, it is surprisingly quiet in the Defender up to about 130 kilometers per hour. Above that, you're starting to hear wind noise and the sound of bugs splashing across the windscreen. At 120 kilometers per hour, the 240 horsepower diesel Defender uses about 9.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Go any faster and you'll exceed 10. Go slower and you'll get into high 8s. This is more or less what Land Rover states. The fuel tank capacity is 85 liters, and there is also a 20-liter tank for AdBlue.
As standard, there's lane keeping assist system, but as the cruise control suspends operation when you press the brake, the lane keeping assist system stops working as well. So it's there because it has to be, not because somebody will actually use it. Also, the standard headlights don't light the area low close to the car very well. I know you'll use an LED bar off-road, but on narrow country roads this could be a problem. Higher trims get more advanced lights. Ask for a night test drive.
If you like analog dials, forget it. The Defender gets a digital instrument cluster as well, which, by the way, is good for displaying off-road information. The new infotainment system is visually appealing, and it works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. For the first time ever, I had Android Auto hang on me while displaying the map information on the screen. And when two paired phones are in the car at the same time, chances are the phone functions will stop working. However, I like that the central display is below the air vents, so I can direct the air up and not at my elbow.
The Defender interior is very practical and can be adapted to the owner's needs. For example, you can order the car without the center console, thus getting better access across and to the back. Or you can order a middle jump seat. I tried it at the motor show, not very comfortable for longer stints, but it could be popular when the commercial version of the Defender hits the market. Door pockets are deep, cup holders are the best in the business with rubber lining that can accommodate a broad range of containers, just like in the Jeep. Storage under the armrest is deep and can be ordered as a fridge. Under the console there is more place and there is a large shelf in front of the passenger and behind the display, but the glove box is small. There are 3 USB ports, including one USB-C and one 12-volt socket. On both sides of the console and before the passenger there are grab handles useful for getting in and during off-roading. The seats are comfortable. I know the upholstery in this car is filthy, but that's the dust and water after many test drives. However, the interior in general is easy to keep clean. After my off-road adventures, there was more mud and sand in the car than I would like. It was all over the floor as well as the seats and the doors. It was enough to vacuum the interior, wipe it down with moist towels, and it was good as new. Well, minus the already stained seats. Land Rover used plastic floor lining, and this test car didn't even come with floor mats. The seats are mounted on these raised elements which house the battery under the passenger seat and some communication system module under the driver's seat. In my opinion, the floor should be at least aligned with the sills or raised, because if water gets inside, it's harder to get it out. And I didn't find a drain plug. Also, if water gets into these compartments under the seats, you're buggered. pneumatic suspension increases the ground clearance from 22 to 29 centimeters plus another 7 centimeters in emergency mode, which the driver cannot activate on their own. Wading depth is up to 90 centimeters for the air suspension model and 85 for the coil suspension. Meanwhile, the compartments under the seats are below the wading depth regardless of the suspension settings. I hope the doors are watertight.
The pneumatic suspension also has an easy access mode with ground clearance dropping from 22 to 18 centimeters. You just have to have the engine on and the doors can't be open, which is ridiculous, but yeah, that's how it works.
In the back there is good legroom and good headroom. This test car has third zone climate control, door pockets are on the small side, there are 2 USB ports and 2 12-volt sockets, a couple of cup holders in the armrest.
The boot volume is 857 liters VDA, but that includes the underfloor storage. If you're the expedition type, you'll chuck that styrofoam lining away with the regular jack. There are better tools for use off-road, but if you mainly take Defender to the shops, you'll be using the upper part of the boot, which is about 490 liters, to the window line.
The floor is hard and easy to clean, but if you don't want everything sliding about, either use elastic straps or get some sort of non-sliding floor mat. Couldn't they just make a double floor like in a Toyota Corolla? There is a 12-volt socket and a 230-volt socket in the boot as well, also 2 shopping bag hooks and a soft cargo cover. The backrests can either fold on the seats, or you can fold the seats first and then you get a flat loading area almost 2,000 liters. The Defender also comes as a 7-seater, which means less cargo space because no underfloor storage, and you get about 160 liters behind the third row. Prices of the Land Rover Defender start at €48,500 for the most basic spec 19 model, €54,200 for the 110. There is a 2-liter, 200 horsepower diesel, a 240 horsepower diesel, a 300 horsepower petrol, and a 400 horsepower petrol. The latter is a 3-liter mild hybrid powertrain. There is also a plug-in hybrid in the cards. This test car with options costs about $71,000, and you can easily spend much more as the options, packs and accessories list is long and tempting.
The new Land Rover Defender is a car for a modern client who needs more comfort and doesn't plan tough off-roading. For an average buyer, the Defender can do more than enough. This car will not look out of place at the farm, at the opera, or in a ski resort. That's if you can afford a farm, a private lodge in the opera, and an apartment in a ski resort. And how do you like the new Land Rover Defender? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth, and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and turn on notifications so you don't miss my new reviews. I post every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.